Good morning and welcome to our curriculum rollout for our new program here in the district. My name is Latrice Peterson. I am the principal here at the center, and today we're going to be discussing what curriculum we will be using for our VITAL program. And VITAL stands for Vocational and Independent Training for Adult Learners. What you'll find with this particular curriculum, it is much different from our normal special education curriculum that we use in our district. This particular program will be reaching all adult learners at all levels. And who are these individuals we will be serving in this new program, and what is the curriculum again going to be like? This is a zero reject program. It's going to reach out to all students who are 18 plus and they have reached their requirements for graduation. This individual does have a level of disability, and they're all levels of disabilities, but their level of disability will not determine the curriculum they receive from us. We're working with the individuals and the families to ensure the programming that we do for them is very specific. There are three components to VITAL, and the curriculum is tied to these three components. We have vocational training, we have independent living, and we have skill-based training. And you all will learn about those curriculum pieces and what specifically is your job to do. And we'll get a little practice in here in a few minutes, but for now we're just going to start with the basics so you understand how to access the curriculum. The teachers teach the individuals the following. We will be using environmental reading. With that, those are signs in the real world and reading instructions like on labels and recipes and things of that nature. We do have some independent living curriculum that we'll be able to get into before we end the presentation today. We also do environmental reading. With that, there's signs in the real world, stop signs, traffic lights, danger, poison, all of those things that might be in the home or in the workplace or just out in the community. You guys will have, again, there is a curriculum tied to that that we'll talk about as well later. Functional math. We will do skills that access them to their community better. That will be money skills, reading measurements for recipes, and telling time. And then, of course, looking at the more vocational side, we will be working with all of the students for job interest and completing applications once they reach that level. Again, curriculum is all tied to these functional areas, and you will have access to several types of curriculum because each of your students will be at different levels and stages of this. So it's a pretty intricate program. And the curriculum, as I said before, it's like no other. It's no standard curriculum for every person will be on the same exact thing. It must be tailored. So when you're doing vocational training, you'll be going into enterprise activities, which are activities in which it gives a student an opportunity to earn money. And in earning money, this also gives them access to community outings. And this also puts all of our students in our district on a level plane so that if that student's family can't afford weekly sending their child money, this is a great way to offset that for the students. And with the enterprise activities, again, there is curriculum tied to that, and we'll get into that soon and once we get to that point. Campus-based training. These are just trainings in which the students will be able to do hands-on activities. I will give you that curriculum as well. This particular access to this curriculum is some of the things you've seen before that you did use for your 9th through 12th graders, but we must build on that. So there will be some other things you'll have to do. Also, community-based training. These are training activities that access them to their community, and this also gives them an opportunity to go out and do real world activities like going shopping, clothing shopping, knowing their sizes. Also, it may access them to recreational activities as well. It's not just tied to work, but these might be students. All of the students should have access to knowing when does the movie start, what time should they be there, and so that is what you will be doing with the vocational piece. Also, the vocational piece, the community sites would be sites that they are in the community actually practicing work skills as well. So this is just a couple of photos of students doing on-campus vocational training, okay? This is on-campus vocational training as well. These students are accessing their school cafeteria, and they're restocking items that students purchase there. This is also on campus. So these students are picking up deliveries, and the student is working in the locker room to place the football team's jerseys back onto their lockers. So transferable activities are what we're looking for. We're looking for activities in which the skills that they're doing on their campus can transfer to outside of the campus as well. Okay, and then this is an actual unique group where they are doing some office type work on the campus for a classroom that's there in the same in the life skills department, and they are in this area. They are helping sort some items for a teacher so that they can prepare for their week. And in this section, they're doing some office work for the actual campus. There were some mailings that needed to go out to the students at their campus, and so this teacher decided that she would make sure they participated in that by assisting with the office in that. Then we have our outside community vocational trainings that occur outside the campus. And so with these here, you'll see they're at the Dollar Tree. And here at the Dollar Tree, they're doing your basic sorting items and ensuring that they are in the right place. This is a campus, it's considered off campus. It is a site fair facility, but it is an elementary school in which they are helping in the library. So again, off campus, it can be another campus that the students are going to work, but that's considered off campus because the students are going somewhere unfamiliar. So maybe they started off working in the library at their home campus, and this teacher decided to transfer their skills and take them to the another neighboring campus, which happened to be an elementary school. So far, we've gotten all the way to vocational trainings on and off campus. But before we go further, we're going to break out into groups in a few minutes to kind of look at and access some of the things we're going to use. Do you have any questions so far?
Yes, actually. I know we have vocational curriculum on campuses, but I'm not very familiar with it. But with students at various learning levels, how do we know where to begin?
Great question, and we're going to get into that next before we break out into group. Okay, so that was a very good question, because in dealing with any of the curriculum you will access, knowing where the student is in terms of levels of what they can and can't do is going to be your first steps before really even getting into training. So you'll be looking at your first semester of really the curriculum piece that you'll be using the most in the first semester or so of your students is assessment. So our district provides a basic vocal assessment that just kind of talks about what interests have you figured out that the student enjoys, and what activities did they do in relation to that. And then you're going to talk a little bit about how well or independent or level of assistance that student needs. And you're going to go through all of the weeks that we are in school to kind of put your eye on that. I suggest this is definitely for your incoming students that you. In addition to the district assessment for vocational, we also have, this is one I found that we usually use PICS. And PICS is a picture inventory of interest as well, pictorial inventory. But the pictures are abstract. I believe it's using one of the older softwares for the pictures. And so for some of our students, going through that can be taxing because you almost have to explain what the person is doing in the picture. So before you jump into curriculum for each of your students, I strongly suggest that you complete this particular picture inventory because it utilizes real life people, real pictures of people doing real employment type jobs. This will really give you a picture of what that student's interest is. And so as you tailor the vocational task, and some things, they may not get to their ultimate goal right away as to where they want to work, but this is a good start to kind of know where you're headed with your students, each of them, because each of them are going to desire to do different things. I would say this one is point on. I completed it myself to see if it would give me what my actual interests are, and it was spot on. I also had my daughter do it, who's headed to the 9th grade, and it was spot on for her. That was her vocational interest. So I say all of this to say instead of going by what you believe the student might be interested in, this is a tool that the expectation is that you truly get a real picture of what the student wants to do for their vocational track so that you can better meet their needs with the curriculum that you use. Because honestly, this is going to be probably one of the things that you're not as used to in our district, because we pretty much lay out things with very specific scope and sequence and what you should be teaching each week and all of those things. But in this case, with vocational and students with disabilities, it definitely has to be individualized. There is a score sheet that indicates areas of interest in the automotive field, clerical, food services, custodial, landscape, materials and handling, and caring for others, as well as retail. And then what you can do with the student, this serves as curriculum as well, because whatever area the student scores the highest in, you might even pick their top 2 areas that they score highest in, because it'll give you the top 3 areas, I believe, or in numerical order. They can research jobs in that field to see if it's really something that they might be interested in, so you can help shape and tailor it down for the students once you've done the assessment. So again, this curriculum is pretty much based on assessments, and those assessments then will outline to you what particular track that student will be on as you work with them. So before we move on into our community-based instruction curriculum, which we do have an actual curriculum for that, and some other things that I would ask that you do, I want you all to get into groups of 3. And in your groups of 3, I want you guys to do the inventory. It doesn't take long, so I want you to see for yourself. And of course, it's going to be depending on the student, but I still want you to get a feel about how easy it is to get through this assessment tool. Once you've done the assessment tool, I want you to discuss if the assessment did depict what your interests are in your field. And did it pick the areas that you would most likely want to work in, I should say. So take a few seconds. I want you to get together and share with your team exactly what the outcome was of the assessment. Thanks. Okay, let's wrap up. I'm glad I heard some of you all going through and really doing that pictorial interest inventory. I appreciate your participation. And then just sharing. And I know from this activity, you see how important it is that we assess our students, really understand what track they're going, want to go on. And then as we do some of trainings on campus in the classroom, you start to think about the direction they want to go and make sure it really is kind of focused on that direction. And of course, there's skills that they're going to need for work across the board. So we do have a curriculum I want to share with you. And this one is called Mastering Soft Skills for the Workplace. And so these are skills that pretty much any of our students would need no matter what area or field they're going into. So some of the areas this particular curriculum covers would be communication, very important in the workplace, enthusiasm and attitude, teamwork, networking, problem solving and critical thinking, professionalism, and it goes into some other things. So those are the main areas that are covered in this curriculum. Again, the curriculum is measuring soft skills. And what you're going to find with this new curriculum and rollout is that, again, we're in a district great at giving us everything that we need in order to succeed in that classroom. Your curriculum is laid out. The items that go along with the curriculum, you don't have to do a whole lot of searching and doing a lot of prep on your own. Of course, as teachers, we always have to prep, but our district is very good about making sure we kind of have the package. Well, for this vocational program, in which we're meeting the needs of individuals with disabilities, and we want to be as specific and tailored as possible, we don't have a box, a cookie cutter, everyone doing the same thing type of curriculum. This is something that as a teacher, you'll be given the basic curriculum to work from. But for each of your students, you may be working on different things. You may have a student that is great at communicating and asking for what they want, asking for help, all of those things. And you may, in that same classroom, have a student that, while their verbal communication skills are there, they've never really spoken up for themselves and advocated to ask for help, ask for more time, and ask for additional directions. So these are things that as you use your campus and use your school to do these jobs, to get them ready for going out into the community and actually working in some of the vocational sites you're going to obtain, this is a great way for you to go in on campus and really look at what area do they need assistance in. And this will be the curriculum you could use to pull from for each of your students to work on those skill sets. So again, very, very tailored, very specific for each of your students. So again, this year the curriculum is going to, the rollout is going to be much different. And I have other tools and items to assist you with really documenting and layering out exactly what you're going to be doing with each student. That is about it. So I've also got a scenario that I passed out to you all. And in the scenario, I give you, there are three different scenarios. Each of those scenarios touch on 3 different levels of students and it's going to discuss their areas of need and their areas of strength. And from that, I want you to take, and mind you, these are scenarios in which the pictorial inventory has already been done, so we know what track that child is on. This is where I want to see how you would tailor this particular, each of those students' day based on using the curriculum here about mastering their soft skills, because that's what you will be working on the entire time that they're on your campus, in your classroom, around the campus, is just really getting those soft skills together. So you have your template in front of you, 3 different scenarios, stay in your same teams, and as a team, I want you guys to lay out a day, or just say an hour of the student and what they will be working on in a particular area. Once you've done that, we'll share. Thank you. Getting a better handle and understanding to this process. As we get through the day further, there are some other components to vocational that must take place, and that's the parent piece. And I would say that the parent piece is what includes a thorough interview of plans for their adult child's future. And that can be difficult. It's a difficult conversation, but I also have some other guidance and tools to assist you, because without the support of the families, without the support of the agencies that these individuals will be a part of for the rest of their lives, much of what we do here could fall by the wayside. Again, you have great curriculum to support their vocational needs. You're going to have great assessments to support their goals for going into adult life and being able to obtain a job and keep a job. But that parent piece, the state agency piece for support, is just as important as the curriculum that I'm rolling out for us, because for adults with disabilities, a part of this curriculum does include parent involvement, and that's where you're going to come in as well. So this is definitely new for you as a teacher. We do have conversations with our families, and typically it's about, grades and behavior. This conversation is going to be a little different, because you will be reflecting on assessments you've taken and really be able to give the families a picture of what their adult child can and can't do, and what you will be working with them on. So it's a little different in that sense. And because the program is new, the parents have never really heard this coming from us. So as I said, there's several components. Vocational is only one component of this curriculum. The other part or component is, as we kind of briefly went over, was the independent living. And in this area, you're going to be working on personal hygiene, cooking, home care, accessing community environment, and basic first aid and using technology devices, which we did go over. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about the community-based instruction. This is not to be confused with vocational instruction in the community, because the vocational instruction in the community will be focused on work experiences. Well, the community-based instruction side of this particular curriculum, it's not just about work. This will be all other things that adults do in their community. So just think about your Monday through Friday schedule, weekday, going to the grocery store, maybe even having a doctor's appointment after work, taking your children to the doctor, possibly going to care for a dog when you get off work, picking up items for your pet, and then not to mention the weekend. The weekend, sometimes our schedules on the weekend are even more jam-packed than the schedule during the week. And so you may have an event to go and get ready for. You may have a movie that you're going to with a friend. So these are some skills that some of our students have never planned for themselves. Many of them have participated, I'm sure, due to even some of our community-based outings that we've had with them for 9th to 12th, but this is going to be a little bit more tailored to the adult way of life. And so we have what's called stepping out curriculum. And the stepping out sounds just like the title is what it is. It's about, what do you need to do before you even step out? What type of preparation does each student have to do or prepare for before going to their event? And so the stepping out curriculum talks about all of these steps. And I'm going to give you some of the areas it covers. really it's going to be an introductory to just checking on time, when something is open, when something is closed. I'm trying to get to the first part. Okay, so remember I talked about home parent involvement. Interestingly, every piece of curriculum that we have available to you for you to use for this program all includes parent involvement. So part of the stepping out curriculum for going into the community will be a survey to the family and to the student so they both can answer. But it talks about, let me go through some of the things. It says, does your child need help waking up? Can they pick out their own clothing? What establishments in the area where you live are walking distance from where you live? What kind of activities does your child do after school? What are their interests after school? Are they part of any special organization? Does your child have a bank account? That's a good question, because that question is twofold. That can be something we know from when we go to community outings and their child wants to bring a debit card that's attached to their personal bank account. Perfectly fine with us. We have a process for making sure receipts go home every time the child spends. Great tool, a great way to teach the student how to balance and make sure they have enough money for outings that were going on. But it also serves well as if this student were to get a job and go into employment, this is a great piece of information so that as they set up for work, they have a bank account that we know of and we can get them processed faster if they were to get a job. We even ask the families, what important communication skill does your child need or you feel they need in order to be successful in the community? And this curriculum, I tell you, it goes through so many things and has so many teaching lessons for these things that honestly, some of which could go for the vocational side as well. So this kind of serves us both, but we do have other vocational curriculum. So this curriculum is going to go through communicating when you're taking a message, when what does a bank, what do you know about a bank? It has information on shopping lists. So grocery shopping is huge with our community-based instruction. We're going out because we do, as I mentioned, have kitchens on every campus. And so some of it goes into making a list, given a budget of this amount, how will you shop? Let me just add this piece in there. For some of our students who writing with pen and paper is a difficult task, one thing you can do in lieu of some of the worksheets that they have, I encourage you to pick up flyers from your grocery store. That is a great activity for all students to participate in, and it reaches all levels. So you can have students circling fruits and vegetables, looking for sale items, comparing prices from one store to another. So that type of activity, you can go out into the real world, it's free, and pick up flyers or even look at it online. But that was something that this curriculum touches on as well. Grocery lists, and let me see what else. This is just a snippet because this is not the actual one. You guys on your campuses have the actual CD. You also have the reproducibles and items in there that you can pull from. But this particular curriculum, I mean, you can stretch this through the entire year and still never get through all of it. So what I want you guys to do is you have a lesson plan template in front of you. I passed those out earlier. I want you to take a look at the Stepping Out curriculum. You can pick any area that you want. And I want you to design a lesson plan that will reach all levels in your classroom. So you might have one group doing grocery shopping, comparing prices high and low. You may have another group doing a shopping list based on a recipe, and you may have another group taking a look through the flyer from your local grocery store and pointing out all the fruits and vegetables. I mean, it can go, the gamut can be that big. So I just want you to practice that, because I want you to start thinking about the students that you might have coming, in which you may have to level, one particular lesson that many ways. Okay, so go ahead and get started, and we'll come back and discuss. Okay, guys, go ahead and wrap up your breakdown of your students, the different levels, and this just kind of gives you an idea of the process that is expected before you really could dive into the curriculum. I mean, every curriculum that you have access to, this is what is required. It is required that you assess first and then dive into the curriculum. So keep that in mind as you're planning your class and the flow of the class and what things you're going to be doing. Make sure you build in time as the teacher for your assessment so you can really tailor activities to the students. I know in the first part of the year you may be doing some small group activities just to get them kind of acclimated back in school and coming to school, but just remember, during this acclimation time, you need to begin to squeeze in time to assess students, talk to families. I'm going to strongly suggest you get that started before the first day of school, and do what you can so that you have clear assessments and clear direction for your students. And so this is just what that is, an overview. You're going to be observing them in class, on campus, off campus, and in the community. And again, everything is an assessment. Also, you're going to be doing vocal assessments that are directly connected to life skills. So we have our functional vocational assessments that the Sci-Fair District gives to us to use as a tool. So we must do those. We also, which I didn't get to mention, and I might have time, I'm going to give you time also today to take a look at that unique curriculum transition band. This is a band in which you can do assessments through there. Everything is going to be saved. The data that you get from those assessments from those students will be saved. And then it populates activities for those students based on those assessments. So it kind of gives you a layout and a baseline for your students. So you may think in terms of the first few weeks of school, making sure everyone is set up to do some unique transition assessments. Also, independent living assessments, those are also located in the unique. So all of these assessments and all of the formal and informal things will assist you in just pulling it all together. So yes, you have curriculum. Yes, you have some access to some curricula online, and actually curriculum that is located on your campuses already. If not, we're going to get you some order that have reproducibles in them. And then you also have the curriculum, which to me is the most meaningful, which is your actual real life situational type trainings that you'll be doing. And so we must take that into consideration as you do the assessments. Where are you going to, or which curriculum will best fit that student? All of those assessments also assist you with making sure that the individuals have a schedule. Now, to begin, we just want to make sure we understand the importance of schedules and who will have a schedule. Well, the plan is for everyone to have a schedule, no matter the child's or the student's disability, wherever they are, their strengths and their areas of need, we're going to make sure they have a schedule to address that. That schedule, you're going to have two types of schedules probably running in your class. A macro schedule. I think as a teacher, having a general plan of what each day will look like is just very important for us in terms of preparation. And so here's an example of a schedule. There's no deciphering between what level each student is on this schedule, but just know in looking at it, and you guys do have a copy of this, that remember we did an activity where we took one lesson and we broke it into 3 different levels for students to make sure we reach all students with that lesson. So as you look at this macro schedule or group schedule, big schedule, you're going to see that breakfast and cleaning and personal hygiene, it's happening every day at the same time, early morning for this particular class. But as I stated before, it may look different per student that's involved in it. So make sure you have it. I'm just going to walk around a little bit here, ensure that you guys have this schedule. Okay, looks like everyone does. Okay, so the next schedule I'm going to show you, this particular campus teacher decided to go ahead and break down specifically by groups because they had a huge variety of students at different levels for this particular class. So one of the examples here is that one group is going to do a community-based vocational instruction out in the community at a Dollar Tree from 9:30 till about 10:30. But at the same time, there's going to be a group working in the kitchen, and then this person also has a group working in the on-campus vocational at their campus, working in the basketball gym. So from looking at the schedule, and you can go through, I'm going to give you a few minutes to glance over it, you will probably notice and see, you could guess which level of students will be doing what. And that's the plus part about having a general schedule. So this is a way you could do it. You could do it just a basic generic way, or you can do a more specific, and I believe more specific is best, especially if you have a huge variety of students. Now, if you don't, and you just have a couple of 2-level groups that you're running, then this might not be necessary, but it's a great point of reference so that everybody knows what everybody should be doing, okay? So we're still teachers, and although our curriculum is fun and keeps us out and moving, we still want to have a schedule to establish routines for our individuals. It promotes independence, and that is the main goal of this program, is promoting independence in the community, on their jobs, on their school campus. And then it also gives individuals an idea of what is going to be completed for their day and helps them keep focus. So self-directed in a sense. And again, everybody needs it. This schedule is going to be good for not just the student, that's the first thing, but it's also good for the teachers and the paraeducators in the room. And really, to be honest, for the caregivers, because I think it's important that they know what their child's schedule is and what it looks like, okay? And so that's what it is for. So I want to show you our next level. Let me make sure everybody has the next sheet, which is one that you may have not seen before. And this sheet is called the Vital Rubric of Progress. Okay, and so this goes along with what the student is doing each day, okay? So, or should I say each week? What I'll be looking for this particular item is where the student has been for a week. What have they been doing? This is where you can insert curriculum. You can insert the specific activity. I mean, truly, as much information as you can fit in this little spot, in the squares, that's what I want you to do. So I want you to take a look. We have, here across down this way, we have the areas of activities or curriculum that they're working on. So we have a section for vocational skills, domestic skills, community skills, basic skills training, and communication and social skills. Okay? So that's what we've all covered for all of the curriculum, is these areas. Then with these areas, you're going to have independent. Did the student do this, walk over, go through the steps without any direction from you or your paraeducator? Minimal and intermittent support. So just a little bit, some reminders, giving them wait time. They ask a question, getting them just little things, or reminding them to take a look at the steps that you've written out for them. Minimal and ongoing support. So it's little bit of support that you have to give, but you have to kind of constantly be in there with them just to make sure that they're completing the task at hand. Moderate and ongoing support and direct hands-on support. Okay? So the gamut goes pretty wide, but sometimes with our students, depending on which area they're working in, it may be independent in basic skills training, and then when you get to a vocational task, they may need minimal and ongoing support. So that's just something that for each child, this is going to look different. And again, this should be filled out for each student, and I'm looking for weekly ranges. And this is something also for your independent students that they can do for themselves. Okay, this could be where at the end of each week they go through, or you may have them do it each day. Today, what did you do in domestic skills? And you may have them document what they did in domestic skills. So and you may even put in there, which would be great. A great point of reference is you use the stepping out curriculum, in which that student picked a recipe, went to the grocery store, shopped for the recipe, came back and cooked the recipe. And maybe they didn't do it all in one day, but you could point out that this week and kind of document that. So here's the thing about this tool for you as a teacher. If you're going to be talking to the student about their progress, talking to the families about their progress, you want to be able to look at areas in which the student may have aced. They excelled in it. They did a good job. They were independent in the community skill, going out, getting on the right bus, sitting in the right place, socially appropriate while in the community, and they've done it for 3 weeks. So when you look at community skills or the curriculum for stepping out, you might decide at that point, let's pick a different area like comparison shopping in the store, because this student already knows how to get on the bus, go in the community, ask for where items are in the store, pick out the items that are listed. But have you ever seen the student actually sit and look at prices? Or are they just matching the words to the item, the picture to the item, and picking it? So this will be what you'll look at that and say, it's time to move on and build on that skill. We never want to see a student who's excelled in something continuing to do it on a formal basis. They can always do it. You don't drop the skill completely, but you might want to decide to move on to the next one. Now, we have that gamut of independence, but we're still going to look at those that need direct hands-on support. So you may look at someone who's training in vocational skills, and all they are supposed to do is an in-class in-class vocational skill that they're working on, and they simply have to stuff the envelopes. Well, it seems simple to us, but the student may have some challenges that it's not that easy. And so day in and day out, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in, you're still doing direct hands-on support. Should we still be doing that skill? This is something that you can discuss with the families. Will this student ever get a job, or do they want a job in this field? Maybe this is not where we need to go. So for vocational skills, you might find that this same student enjoys dropping off items or picking up items and dropping them off to the appropriate place. That's still a vocational skill. It's delivery. And so you may say, you know what, for 3 weeks we've been doing this stuffing envelopes, and this student is just not getting it. We haven't moved from moderate to ongoing. I'm not seeing movement. So you as a teacher can go back in and say, let me start with a new task and see where can I place this student and what can they do. instead of, because again, this is a rubric of progress or lack thereof, and we can't be afraid to touch on that when working with our students. With curriculum, we want to assess also, this might help, that perhaps you mark on here you used a different curriculum or you sought out a different curriculum. This could also be a judgment or tool that helps you know what is really working for your students or what have you. And that can be open for discussion as we look at the next year and talk about the curriculum we have and what works and what doesn't work. But a sure way to know if what you're doing is working or not, we must have some clear documentation to support that. Also, just curriculum in general, there always has to be accountability. While our students are students who have completed their 22 credits, they are considered young adult learners, they're on a different schedule, there's a lot of room for movement and things like that. We are still teachers and we still want to be accountable for all the hard work that we're all doing to ensure that our students have a well-rounded schedule on a daily basis, and that this curriculum is being accessed to its